The Enchanted Stag. Symbolism is common to all parts of the Bible. By the varied use of symbols, men of God have had a twofold purpose. Either they use symbols to clarify a teaching, or they hide the truth to hold it for future revelation. In the present day, we are privileged to gather the meanings which were buried deep in hidden language by the prophets of old. Hence, it is most important to the reader of the Bible to learn the meanings of certain symbols, especially those that relate to our times. The books of Daniel, Esdras, and Revelation abound in puzzling word pictures, each awaiting a certain unfolding of history for their explanation. By way of example, Daniel relates in his book a dream that was given him during the reign of Belshazzar, king of Babylon. Daniel depicts 4 beasts, each one representing a reigning king, only one of which had yet come to power, i.e., the king of Babylon. Only the passing events of history could clarify the true nature of the dream, for the other 3 powers had not yet manifested. And so history has, by degrees, unraveled the enigma of the prophecies of Daniel and the other prophets of Israel. One set of symbols which biblical scholars are apt to overlook is the group of fairy tales preserved for us by the Grimm brothers of Hanau and Hesse, Germany. While some of the similes in these tales are identical with those of the Bible, others are quite different and further unravel the intricacies of biblical prophecies in ways that no other literature has done. Except for certain passages scattered throughout the scriptures and one passage hidden in the Apocrypha, 2 Esdras chapter 13, verse 41 through 43, no explanation is given of the whereabouts of the 10 tribes of Israel. After their capture by the Assyrian kings Tiglath-Pileser III and Shalmaneser, they disappear from the pages of history. This is as it should be, for this also is a part of prophecy and a part of Israel's punishment. She was to lose her identity, but not her heritage. But the stories of the Saxon mothers, as told around the fireside at night, have served to preserve a wealth of information on the true identity of the Israel people. In these tales, reported faithfully to us by the Grimm brothers, Israel is again and again identified as the Anglo-Saxon Celtic peoples, who, escaping captivity in Assyria, went north and west through the Gate of Israel, through the Crimea and southern Europe, to settle in Saxony, Denmark, England, and Scotland. A most fascinating commentary on this fact is found in the story of the Enchanted Stag. The story is of a brother and sister who love each other dearly, a familiar pattern in the sagas of the Saxons. See the story of Hansel and Gretel. Their mother had died, and their father had married a woman who was most unkind and cruel to them. See the story of Snow White. They suffer hardship under the cruel stepmother and decide to go out into the wide world and fend for themselves. They wander for a whole day and sleep through a rainy night in the woods, and in the morning the boy awakens very thirsty. He found a brook and was just bending over to drink when his sister hears a voice in the babbling brook. "Whoever drinks of me, a tiger soon will be." Stopping her brother just in time, the little girl urges her brother on. Here we might pause to recognize the boy and girl as the 12 tribes of Israel, including Judah, for as we have seen in the story of Hansel and Gretel, the better part of Judah accompanied the lost 10 tribes of Israel on their trek out of Assyria to their new home. The boy, in this story, more properly represents all of the tribes of Israel, and the girl fluctuates in her role of Israel and a kind of guardian angel, guiding the 12 tribes to their appointed place in the Isles. The father in the story is, in a physical sense, Jacob, who was the actual father of the 12 boys whence sprung the 12 tribes. Yet he is also a symbol for God, the Father, who, like Jacob, loves his children and cherishes them in their special destiny. The story introduces a new symbol, not even found in the Bible, the tiger. What does the stream of water stand for? And what is the meaning of the tiger that the boy might have been changed into? The author of the story had something definite in mind. No random figures these. Let us continue with our story and see. When the children next approached a spring, the sister heard in the bubbling spring the words, "Who drinks of me, a wolf will be." The girl, in the role of guardian angel, draws her brother away from the spring and thus saves him from the fate of being turned into a wolf. This incident has a close parallel in the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 3, where we read, "An angel, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads." The 4 angels referred to here are the 4 angels of Revelation 8. who let loose 4 great disasters that swept over Rome, and Israel was allowed first to travel across Europe, to pass safely on to Saxony and to England before the destruction of Rome took place at the hands of the Goths, the Vandals, and the Huns. As seen in the delineation of the story of Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf is the symbol for imperial Rome, and is easily recognized as such here in our story of the enchanted stag. Just as indicated in Revelation, the children of Israel, here depicted as brother and sister, pass on unharmed to the land of their destiny, the land of the red deer or stag. There are no deer to be found in Palestine, and certainly no stag. The stag, a reddish-brown deer peculiar to Europe only. The word stag is derived from the Saxon word stigen, and gives us a clue as to the locale of the next stream to which the children now come. The boy is now so thirsty he declares that at the next water he will most certainly take a drink. At this streamlet the girl hears the words, "Who dares to drink of me, turned to a stag will be." So on taking a drink of this water the boy was turned into a stag, and the girl is startled to see her brother, a fawn, grazing at her feet. And here we come to the crux of the story, and the purpose of it is now complete. The children of Israel, now miraculously changed into the enchanted stag, have lost their identity as Israel, and are become another people. They are now become Saxons. No longer are they a Palestinian people, but a strange metamorphosis has taken place. Like magic, they become a completely new race. Saxons, Angles, Jutes, Celts, battling their way into Saxony, into Hesse, into Denmark, into England and Scotland. Only the little sister knows the true nature of the fawn, until one other comes to hunt him, a king, but he never guesses that the stag he hunts is a young boy in disguise. There is no greater clue in the fairy tales than this one as to the change of character of the children of Israel. As if by magic they are changed from one people into another, and to all appearances they are a new people entirely, a stag people, people of Germany, Denmark, and England, the habitat of the stag, even to this day. In retrospect now, what does the tiger symbolize? There may be a play upon words here, between the Tigris River and the animal of our story, the tiger. Certainly the stream referred to is in the area of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and probably refers to the Tigris. The word tiger is derived from the Persian word tigri, the animal inhabiting the eastern part of that country. In any event, the tiger in our story designated the country of Persia, which more anciently was known as Babylon, or Assyria, and is the same in meaning as the lion of Daniel chapter 7 verse 4, which has the wings of an eagle. The huge winged lions that have been dug up by archaeologists at Sargon prove them to be the symbols for ancient Assyria, and were used largely to ornament the gates to Assyrian cities and their palaces. Plainly then, the tiger represents Assyria and its ancient empire. Israel was taken captive first by Shalmaneser II in 858 to 824 BC, and finally in 730 BC the last of Israel was removed from Samaria by Tiglath-Pileser III. They were settled in the interior of Assyria, in Halah and in Habor by the river Gozan, modern Kizil-Uzan, and in the cities of the Medes. This area is located on the northern slopes of the Elburz Mountains, where the river Gozan flows northeastward and drains into the Caspian Sea. There is a village on this river today by the name Abhar, which is the modern derivation of ancient Habor. According to the popular belief, the Israelites mingled with and were assimilated by the Assyrians. According to the history books, they disappeared and became the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Our story, though treated as fable, is actually closer to the truth than the history books, which are supposed to be based on fact. The children of Israel did not linger in Assyria, but they formed this plan among themselves to leave the heathen population and go to a more distant region, where the human race had never lived, so that there perhaps they might keep their statutes, which they had not kept in their own country. And they went in by the narrow passages of the Euphrates River. 2 Esdras chapter 13 verses 41 through 43. In the simple parlance of our story, the little brother, Israel, did not drink of the waters of the first stream he came to, the Tigris and Euphrates sources, but held his thirst and traveled on in quest of other waters. He traveled north of Rome and the threatened interference of Rome to a third stream. This stream can be realistically pointed out as the Danube, for it is the easiest route into the hills and forests of northern Europe, and it leads to the native haunts of the stag. There he lived with his sister in a little hut in the forest. There is a very touching description here of the girl and the fawn living together in the hut, she taking fond care of him, knowing all the while that he was really her brother. In this sense, the author or originator of the fairy tales might be associated with the boy's sister, for certainly there is clearly defined comprehension here of the true identity of Israel. And so might all be defined who comprehend this truth. Israel is not what he appears to be, but a telltale hint is given by the symbology of the stag. The stag, derived from the hind, is the emblem of the tribe of Naphtali. The stag is in common use in the heraldry of Germany, in England, and all of the Nordic countries. In significant language, the story is telling us that Israel lost the old identification when she arrived in Northern Europe, and took on a new garb, a new name, a new identity. How plainly it is put! And all wrapped up in the charming fantasy of a fairy tale. Who would suspect the truth to be hidden in such a wrapping? No one. We need not recount how the king comes a-hunting, and, wounding him in the foot, follows him to the hut. There he finds the girl, falls in love with her, and marries her. Then there follows the episode wherein the wicked stepmother, who thought she had done away with the two children, learns that the girl had married the king, and that the fawn is unharmed in their castle. This wicked stepmother is identical with the woman of Revelation chapter 17, who was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hands full of abominations and fornication, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And this woman John saw as drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. This woman is none other than the Roman Church, which in the Inquisition sought to judge the true believers and by every possible ruse to subvert them and compel them to submit to her will and her rule. The story of the demagoguery of this church is the story of the Holy Roman Empire, the unsatiated power of the kings aligned with the popes, and of the Inquisition. The story of the struggle for freedom from this rule is the story of the Reformation, starting with Wycliffe in England and flowering in the work of John Huss in Bohemia and Martin Luther in Germany. The story ends with the king making a decision. The stepmother has sent her own daughter to take the place of the queen. The ruse works for a time until the king finally declares, "There cannot be two queens," and reclaims his true queen, the heroine of our story. The stepmother and her daughter are sentenced to die, the daughter to be devoured by wild beasts, and the mother to be burned alive. How like the fate of the beast in Revelation chapter 19 verse 20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. To quote from the story again, no sooner was she reduced to ashes than the charm which held the queen's brother in the form of a stag was broken. He recovered his own natural shape and appeared before them a tall, handsome young man. From this we can conclude an important bit of wisdom, which will parallel the book of Revelation. Israel will not emerge in true outward identity until the beast of Revelation has been destroyed. Those of man who, seeing see, and hearing hear, Matthew chapter 13 verse 13, can understand who Israel is today. Jesus gave the reason for his speaking in parables. He stated to his disciples that they should be spiritually tested by their ability to look beyond the parables, the symbols, and understand the meaning of them. This calls for spiritual perception. Those who are blind to these truths will remain blind to them to the end of the age. Then will the truth be revealed to all men, but then it may be too late. In his ministry, Jesus is constantly urging his followers to sharpen their perception, to dig for spiritual truths in the scriptures, and to so order their lives that they would be ready to enter in through the narrow door of the kingdom, when that door should be opened to them. He identifies the wise ones as the wise virgins who have in their lamps the oil of comprehension and understanding. Without this oil in supply, even professing Christians would be found wanting, and would not be ready when the bridegroom comes. The Enchanted Stag is an impressive, if enigmatic, contribution to the understanding of the identity of the Israel people. For those who are too blind to see it, there remains only the rewards of the blind. To those who can see it and accept it, there are the rewards that come to the illumined, the expectant, the believer. The fullness of these rewards can only be grasped with the coming of the Master Jesus, and when that time comes, he will be ready to enter into our heritage as co-heir with Christ.